All right, I think we'll get started. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lorelei Divetter with the IPM Institute's Pest Defense for Healthy Schools. Welcome to the January call for the North Central School IPM Working Group. On today's call, we'll hear from the IPM Institute's Ryan Anderson. He is the development specialist for the Sustainable Communities Group and has been with the IPM Institute for about 5 years. He has extensive experience advancing science-based solutions in urban and residential communities. And at the IPM Institute, Ryan devotes most of his time to Midwest Grows Green, a project that identifies, teaches, and implements sustainable landscaping, as well as the Pest Defense for Healthy Schools. And I want to acknowledge our funders today. So funding for this working group is provided through the USDA National Institute of Food and Agriculture Crop Protection and Pest Management Program through the North Central IPM Center. And we also have a sponsorship through the NEA, which is the nation's largest professional employee organization. They represent 3 million elementary and secondary schools, school teachers, higher education faculty, education support professionals, school administrators, retired educators, and students preparing to become teachers. We also have a sponsorship from Pest Boss, which is a software company that empowers facility managers with the tools to conduct and oversee facility pest management inspections, abatement activities, and monitoring reporting. And then our final sponsor is Excluder, the global leader in rodent and pest control products. Excluder offers a wide range of both products for commercial and residential applications. Then I have a few pest defense updates and reminders for everybody. Please remember that our online trainings our online modules are free and open access. You can get to those by scanning the QR code on the screen or going to the pestdefenseforhealthyschools.org/classes. They cover 9 different school staffing groups and can be very beneficial to your school. And if you are not subscribed to our newsletter or webinar announcements, please feel free to contact me if you want to be added to our newsletter list or working group. And then we wanted to get some member updates or working group member updates. So if anyone has an update, feel free to unmute yourself. We just ask that you keep it under 2 minutes. Let's see. I think that is it. Then another reminder for anyone in the Chicago area, Midwest Grows Green is going to be hosting 2 workshops in the Chicago area on March 19th and March 20th. We wanted to let you know about the March 19th workshop, which will be located in Hyde Park near one of our schoolyard restoration sites, Ray Elementary. And Ryan will be talking more about that later in his presentation. He will be speaking at the event along with our soil scientist, Vitas Pavadinskas. And guest speakers will include Gerard Minnick of the Natural Grass Advisory Group and Dan Danelli of the North Shore Country Club. And it will include a site visit to the Ray Elementary school site. And we're partnering with the Illinois Food Scrap and Composting Coalition for this event, and they'll have a membership meeting after that. And our sponsors for that event are the North Central IPM Center, Illinois Department of Natural Resources Coastal Management Program, the IFSCC, and the Natural Grass Advisory Group. And mark your calendars for our next school IPM webinar, which will be on March 28th, 2024. We still have to decide the time with scheduling, so just keep that open. And with that, I will pass it over to Ryan.
Hi, everyone. I'm just getting the presentation up. Everyone can see me and hear me, right? All right. Well, hi, everyone. Thanks for joining this working group call in January for our school, North Central School IPM working group. This is going to be more discussional. I have a couple of questions. We're going to do some brainstorming, but I'm also going to present the work that we've done in 2023 for the North Central School IPM working group. And then we'll also cover the work that we plan for 2024, which we actually just found out yesterday that we received funding for from the North Central IPM Center. So we're very appreciative of that to move forward on the objectives that we set for this upcoming year, as well as early part of 2025. So my name is Ryan Anderson. Lorelei introduced me. I have been involved with the IPM Institute, or a part of the IPM Institute, since 2018, but I've overseen our North Central School IPM working group since about 2022 or 2021. We received renewed funding in 2022, and I've been the project director for the working group. So I have a pretty good overview of what the work that we've been doing, because I've been writing the grants and overseeing Lorelei's work. And we've been really trying to connect it with a lot of our other initiatives at the IPM Institute. And our primary focus with the North Central School IPM working group is to promote our Pest Defense or Healthy Schools, which Lorelei has mentioned a lot. It's a website that includes modules, free online training modules right now for 9 different occupations, ranging from a nurse practitioner, a school grounds manager, building maintenance, teachers, food services, and the list goes on. We also have specific trainings for states. Right now, for the state of Illinois, it's required to have a school IPM plan and policy. And so we have a training that qualifies for that requirement. So we'll go through the lens of Pest Defense or Healthy Schools, but I just want to start off with the issue that we're trying to address at the school IPM working group. A number of people, part of our working group have been involved in a paper or a couple papers covering school IPM and this issue of only 15 to 20% of school districts have effective IPM programs. And as everybody knows, IPM programs are very important for children, K through 12 students, because K through 12 students are spending about 37 or more hours in school environments per week. And pests and pesticide hazards pose detrimental threats of short and long-term health effects to school students and staff. Couple things: asthma triggers from pests. We also see viruses like the norovirus. And then from pesticides, a number of these pesticide products have been linked to health effects like endocrine disruption, reproductive disruption, carcinogens, and the list goes on for those health effects. So that's the issue that we're really trying to address with the school IPM working group, and we're coming up with strategies to increase adoption of IPM so that we can exceed this 15 to 20%. And of course, our focus is in the North Central region because it's been funded by the NCIPM, and those states I will cover in a little bit. Great Lakes states, as well as North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and a couple others. So these are the objectives from our last grant cycle that we have. First, we want to establish Pest Defense as a central hub for school IPM information. So that's increasing the use of Pest Defense, but also having different states use Pest Defense for their IPM training, and I'll cover that in a little bit. And also doing these bi-monthly webinars and our monthly newsletter. So we're going to continue on that objective for 2024, 2025, and I'll explain some of the work that we did in 2023 and our planned work for 2024. Our second objective was to improve the knowledge of the motivation, structures, and stakeholders behind effective state school IPM policies. So we had one of these review meetings last year, or in late 2022, and this came up where there was a data sheet of all the different state school IPM or pesticide laws related to schools. And we wanted to kind of refine that database and then also come up with some sort of fact sheet of best practices behind adopting these state school IPM laws and enforcing them. So that was a major focus for us in 2023. A couple of people on this call participated in those interviews with us, and we are right now working on the fact sheet after all that information that we've collected over the past year. And then our final objective for the 2023-2024 cycle, but it has been an objective for our working group since 2022, is to incorporate pest defense into IPM and IPM into school curriculums through administrating interactive programs for K through 12 students. So pest defense in the past, it started in 2018, was very focused on staff, which were the people implementing integrated pest management. But we thought that if we can incorporate IPM more into the school curriculum, that will motivate these schools to adopt IPM practices more. And so we've been really working with a couple different partners to develop these curriculums or lesson plans that I'll talk about when I cover Objective 3. So starting off with that Objective 1, which is really promoting the North Central School IPM Working Group and is product of Pest Defense for Healthy Schools.org. Lorelei has been the main coordinator for all this. We have webinars every other month. We used to have it monthly, but that seemed to be more of a target of quantity as opposed to quality of those webinars. So we said, let's do it every other month and let's really focus on the quality of our content. And we believe that we have gotten some really great presenters over in 2023. So this lists all of our 2023 presenters, and we have a diversity of content that we've covered over the past year. So we started off with a talk about asthma and IPM from Carissa Holm, from the American Lung Association, I believe she's from. Then we kept on the asthma green cleaning with Lynn Rose. Lynn Rose actually presented twice in 2023, so thank you to her for presenting. But we wanted to have a green cleaning, especially after all these precautions that were taken for COVID and are still going on post-COVID, we are in a COVID spike. So we wanted just to cover green cleaning because that is obviously a part of IPM approaches. We had Mark Lame, who presented the Monroe County, Indiana School IPM model, just an update. He's presented that before, but that's a very sufficient or comprehensive IPM program that we got an inside look into. On the outdoor IPM side, we did have a presentation from Ben Grimm, who is from the Iowa City School Community District. And he has a very comprehensive outdoor sustainable landscaping policy and program for his district. And I really appreciate it because I do a lot of work in outdoor IPM, and we actually invited him to present for our Midwest Grows Green sessions as well after that presentation. And then you can see Nick Wise is, I think, a unique presenter because we went towards that. How can we educate K through 12 students? And Nick Wise is an educator by trade. So he didn't have any experience with IPM before, but he brought up this lesson plan for IPM of, I believe, fungus gnats after they had fungus gnat pressure for their aquaponics system. So he presented that this last year. We had one of our Green Shield certified companies talk about IPM in California schools, high regression. And then finally, we had Janet Hurley, Lynn Rose, and Tim Stock, who are regular contributors to our North Central School IPM working group, talk about their recent paper, Environmental Health in Schools. So you can see a mixture of looking at state policies, indoor pests, outdoor pests, and also how we can educate school K through 12 students. So we had a really good diversity about those webinars. And if you are interested in any of those webinars, those recordings are now available or will be available on our Pest Defense for Healthy Schools YouTube channel. And you can email Lorelei if you want access to any of those webinars and those recordings. And now I want to put up a poll discussion. We would like to know from the working group members what kind of topics you would like covered in 2024 for our bi-monthly webinars. So Lorelei is going to share that poll. If one of the options is not out there, you can feel free to either put it in the chat or actually unmute yourself and share. And also, if you are interested in presenting with our North Central IPM Center, please also speak up or put it in the chat or contact Lorelei. So give a couple minutes. Lorelei, the poll's going, right?
Yep, it's up. Is everybody seeing it? I guess I haven't gotten any results yet on my end.
Is everyone seeing it? If not, put it in the chat.
I can see it. It looks like there's some results coming in.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And if anyone has any topics that aren't in that poll, please let us know either via the chat or you can unmute yourself. We'll move on to the other objectives. I did want to say that our webinars are very successful. Our goal for the NCIPM grant was to average about 20 attendees, and we exceeded that goal per webinar. So we're happy about that. And Lorelei has done great work at finding a diversity of speakers for our school IPM working group. And we will look through those poll results to help us determine our next set of speakers for 2024. In addition, we want to add to the Pest Defense website and continue to promote it. So Lorelei has been doing a monthly newsletter that is supported by the North Central IPM Center, as well as the National Education Association, Pest Boss, and Excluder. And as a part of that monthly newsletter in the past, what we have been doing is doing current event articles, which are obviously important. We still have current event articles, but we added a blog post actually, or a blog page to our Pest Defense for Healthy Schools, thanks to support from Pest Boss. So they helped us develop this blog page, and now we have about 10 interviews from either past pest defense webinars or our one-on-one discussions regarding state IPM laws, which I'll talk about in the next objective. And so we have summaries of those interviews in the blog posts, and then we have a link to the full recording on either our YouTube channel or our SharePoint. So if you want to review that interview or that presentation further, you can click on that link. We also did a pest defense update, thanks to one of our working group members, Dr. Dawn Gouge. She provided us some audio for our Intro to IPM module, which is the most popular of the pest defense modules. Currently, all the modules are computer-generated voiceovers, which isn't as engaging as we would hope. So our plan is to at least do one update of those pest defense modules per year. And we chose the Intro to IPM this year. And we're going to do one or two more in 2024 for those pest defense updates. This is what the blog page looks like. Right now, you can see 4 of 10 blog posts that we have up there. Howard Gratian's presentation is there, but we also have interviews with the state IPM work with Seth Dibley from the EPA, Alyssa Foss from the state of Wisconsin, and Janet Hurley from the state of Texas. So here are our planned 2024 activities for Objective 1. Of course, we're going to continue those bi-monthly working group webinars. We're going to create new blog posts, probably once per month, and we're going to do our monthly newsletter once again for Pest Defense. If you're not on that monthly newsletter, please contact Lorelei, and she can add you to our newsletter listserv. And we added about 168 people to our listserv for our newsletter, so that was exceeded our set goal for the NCIPM grant. And I believe more than 60 people have registered for the Pest Defense modules over the year of 2023. All right, moving on to Objective 2. Objective 2 was really how can we further adoption at the state level? Obviously, a lot of these states have school IPM laws, pesticide laws that are relevant to school integrated pest management. And so we want to see first, what were all these laws across the North Central region is our priority, but we also want to look across the nation. And then we actually want to interview people that are involved, they're enforcing these IPM programs and policies or writing and passing those. We had 5 interviews. 3 of them were in the North Central region. 2 were outside. We did the 2 outside because we really wanted to see what those IPM laws were, so to see if they could apply to our North Central states. So we had our first interview was with Veronica Corella from the Maryland Children's Environmental Health Coalition, looked at the Maryland school IPM law. We had Dr. Janet Hurley from Texas A&M University, who has presented with our working group multiple times and is involved with the training for schools to adhere to the school IPM law in the state of Texas, which is very comprehensive. We had Alyssa Foss from the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection talking about Wisconsin school IPM. We had Seth Dibley from the US EPA looking at the EPA side of things of how they promoted IPM in the past. Also, Seth Dibley's focus is IPM within the North Central region. And you can see the North Central region in the image to the right, those states that we're focused on. And then finally, actually my past manager or supervisor, Ruth Kersey, who has previously worked at the Midwest Pesticide Action Center, just like myself, but now works for Elevate and their environmental health initiatives. So she talked about school IPM in the state of Illinois. So we have all those interviews. I don't know if we have Ruth's up yet, but we will have it shortly. And we do a blog post for each of them. And we'll eventually compile all this information into a fact sheet. And that fact sheet development includes an overview of school IPM policy possibilities for the North Central region, a visual of key stakeholders involved in making these policies, a list of barriers to school IPM policies, either adopting them or enforcing them. And then we also want to have case studies of 2 to 3 successful school IPM policies that we have interviewed for or have seen. So we are in the development stage of that fact sheet, and our goal is to publish it with the NCIPM for their pests in progress fact sheets. With that information, I covered those states of people that we've interviewed. We are always looking for more interviews and to learn about more states and their school IPM and pesticide laws. So if you have any suggestions, you can either share right now via chat or unmuting yourself, or you can contact me directly at randerson@ipminstitute.org. So I will, if anybody has any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. And this is what objective 2 looks like for 2024. We did update that objective a little bit to expand school IPM expertise in the North Central region by developing pest defense modules tailored to the school IPM and pesticide applicator laws of North Central states. My apologies. So our first module update will actually be for the state of Michigan. And I believe I saw Emily online. We're going to be working with the state of Michigan to develop a pest defense, to record a pest defense IPM training that aligns with the state of Michigan pesticide laws and school IPM laws. So we'll be working with Emily on that. But we are also looking to add more states as time goes on. So right now we have a state of Illinois training, but we also want to do for as many North Central states as possible a pest defense online module. All right, moving on to objective 3, which is the one that we've probably worked the most on in 2023, and also the one that has the most barriers for us at Pest Defense and just the IPM Institute in general. And that is, how can we teach IPM to K through 12 students and ultimately have these schools that receive these lesson plans implement integrated pest management. So our overall goal this year was to do 3 interactive and experiential workshops, IPM workshops for K through 12 students and staff. And we did that, and I'll go through each of those schools of the lesson plans that we did. And then from that, work with those schools to receive our IPM certification, which is called Green Shield Certified for facilities. It used to be IPM Star, but we have merged IPM Star into Green Shield Certified, just because that worked better for our branding. We figured branding under one thing is better than having 2 separate brandings. So we wanted to have our evaluator go to each of these schools, look at their indoor and outdoor IPM, develop interim reports, and then work with the students and staff to address those recommendations in those reports and achieve ultimately the certification. We have only evaluated Walcott to this point, and it's a combination of staff turnover and commitment that has been kind of a major barrier to these Green Shield certified evaluations. So this is brainstorming where eventually I'll ask everybody if you have any ideas of how we can improve participation in these IPM evaluations from both the students and staff at schools. We would love to hear your insight, but I'll go through each of those schools, what we did in 2023 and also a little bit in 2022. So we started off with our pilot school of Walcott College Prep. It's a small school that is catered towards students with learning differences, which means dyslexia or any learning differences similar to that. So we had a teacher, Kenny Bai, who was very passionate about this work, connected us to his science class of 6 students. So it's a small class, and we worked with a couple of different organizations. The first one is Kids in Action for Biological Control, to talk about overall IPM concepts. And so we had a session on September 19th, 2022. And on the image to the right, you can see one of those Kids in Action educators, Todd Breitenfeld. We flew him in to do a biocontrol demonstration for the students. So they learned about biocontrol, they learned about concepts of integrated pest management. We also had a session with our founder at the IPM Institute, Dr. Thomas Green. Originally, it was supposed to be in person, but we had some scheduling conflicts, so he had to do it virtually. But he also talked about structural IPM virtually. And then with Walcott, we were able to do an actual evaluation. So bring Dr. Green out to Walcott College Prep. And the hope was, obviously we had some staff follow him around as he did his evaluation of the facility, both the outdoor and the indoor, and looked at any pest conducive conditions and go through our Green Shield certified evaluation. Our also hope was to have the students for an hour or so be instructed by Dr. Green and do a little activity. Unfortunately, and we didn't know this, Senior Ditch Day was planned on April 27th, 2023. So Kenny, his class, all of his students ditched that day. So we did not have any students to teach. And obviously we had no way of knowing that this would be Senior Ditch Day. So that was unfortunate that we couldn't actually engage the students when Dr. Green did his evaluation. But we still developed a report for Walcott College Prep, and we are still working with the staff. And the other unfortunate thing that happened, though, with Walcott College Prep is Kenny Bai, who's the teacher in the image to the middle. He left for another school, Avery Coonley School, which is in the suburbs of Chicago. And so he was our major player in terms of getting the school involved in IPM. And so we don't have that connection now with Walcott College Prep. So getting Walcott College Prep to go through those recommendations has been a challenge since Kenny's leave, but we are hopeful that we can still work with them to achieve their certification by April 27th of 2024, which we give them about a year to address all our recommendations. Our second school is the Escuela Verde, which is in Milwaukee. Our teacher and our connection is actually Ted Snyder, who is another leader of our North Central School IPM Center, working group. He is actually an IPM or pest management professional by trade, but now he is an educator for students out in the Milwaukee area. So we thought he'd be a great fit as a leader for our working group. And he has actually presented to our working group before about the education that he does for K through 12 students. So we funded this workshop. He actually just did it yesterday. So these are images from yesterday of the workshop. It was looking at rodent biology. And as you can see, we funded these radar guns in the image to the right, and the students went around the school of Escuela Verde to monitor the rodents, and they're going to develop recommendations for how to manage, exclude the rodents, and apply proper sanitation. So that is our second lesson plan that we have done at Escuela Verde. It's in its infancy because we just did that workshop yesterday, but we have a lesson plan all written out for that, and our plan is to publish it on Pest Defense once we finalize all this work. And then the third one that I've been most involved with, because it's on the Midwest Grows Green side, we do a lot of crossover at the IPM Institute with our sustainable communities programs. But we did a restoration for this school, Ray Elementary School. It's in Hyde Park, which is a south side neighborhood of Chicago. We've been talking with parents from Ray Elementary School for a long time. They have this baseball field that was granted to them by Cubs charities, so Chicago Cubs charities. And as you can see in the image from the before, it's not managed great. And this is typical of a lot of schoolyards. There's a lot of bare soil, a lot of weeds. And so they want to bring us in at Midwest Grows Green side to give them technical assistance on how to restore this turf grass without any synthetic pesticides or fertilizers. So you can see the full work of what we did. I'm not going to talk about what we did specifically. I'm going to focus on the K through 12 student interaction, but that bit.ly as well as that QR code will take you to a photo journal of all the work that we did on the landscaping side to restore that turf grass. But the major thing in terms of engaging the students is we had a educational workday on July 13th of last year. And these are some images from that workday. There are two components. The first thing I just want to point out is on July 13th, 2023, you can see all that bare soil. So that is what the schoolyard looked like on July 13th. We had basically no turf grass to work with at that point. So we were really under the gun on how we are going to actually grow grass in those bare soil areas. There's bare soil all around this schoolyard. And what we decided to do is cover a whole lot of it with mulch, because under areas that turf grass doesn't grow well, so under trees and near benches. So we had a company that donated all this mulch, but they just put it at one location. So ultimately we needed to move that mulch. So we did two things on the workday. One thing, and as you can see in the image to the left, is we did some demonstrations of soil health and soil compaction. So our educator is actually our Midwest Grows Green soil scientist, Vitas Papadinskas. He's in the green shirt, and he also has a master's in education. So he likes to do these kind of projects for students. So he did some demonstrations of soil health and what happens when you compact the soil for students. And these were about 40 or so students from a class. And then the second part is we talked to them about assembly lines and the importance of assembly lines for natural disaster relief and everything like that. And the concept was to have two groups of students race these assembly lines of these wood chips from one side to the other to put these wood chips under the tree. And so they would go in assembly lines, and then we would load up the buckets and they would transfer the buckets over to the other side. Well, what I thought was kind of cool is the first time it was kind of havoc with these kids. They went out of the line, they started running back and forth these buckets, and it wasn't for both of those lines, it wasn't very fast. But then they determined, we stopped them and we said, all right, we're going to do this again. And what did you see? And they said they could see that once they broke the line, that's what made it kind of ineffective. And so they didn't break their lines on the second time. So they learned the importance of teamwork, and they transport a lot more of the mulch, and you can see some of those mulch piles. We didn't get through all the mulch. We had a contractor spread the rest of the mulch, but I thought it was kind of a cool teamwork experiment that we did with those students on that day. So this is a look at the remainder of the work that we did. We spread the remainder of the mulch. We also brought in some compost top dressing. We seeded it. We put some straw over, and within a month we had a full grass stand where we never had grass before. So we're very happy about that. And Lorelei presented that we are going to do a workshop in Hyde Park, and our demonstration site is going to be Ray Elementary School. So that's the lesson plans that we did for those three schools. I'm interested either on this call, you can unmute yourself, put in the chat if you have any other ideas that we can remain in contact first with school staff following turnover or throughout the school year, or if you have any success stories, because that was obviously the major barrier that we had, is working with staff because they have so much other stuff than just integrated pest management. But we do really want to continue to engage staff in our IPM programs. So I'm happy to hear anything. Also, if you have any questions too. while people are coming up with the comments, I do want to say our plan 2024 objectives are to do these lesson plans again for our 3 different schools, our 2 different schools, as well as Escuela Verde. We want to continue to work with Ted Snyder in Milwaukee, and we're probably also we did some schoolyard restorations out in Milwaukee for Midwest Grows Green, so we want to continue to engage those schools as well. But we have a grant from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources to work with Brooks College Prep, and we are working with them for the Illinois Green Schools Project, which is run by the Illinois Green Alliance. And we want to bring in a couple educators for the biocontrol. And we want to do the same for Avery Coonley School. So we want to continue our partnership with Kenny Bai, who moved to Avery Coonley School in Downers Grove, Illinois. So that is our planned objectives for 3 in 2024. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have about those objectives, or if you have any comments or suggestions for our overall working group, that'd be great too.
And we did get a question in the chat from Naomi Morgan. She was wondering how you first got in contact with the parent group at Ray Elementary, if they reached out to you or if you reached out to them.
Yeah, this was probably one of the longest. They had reached out to me. I don't know. I think I had presented at a Hyde Park conference back in 2018 or 2019. And one of the parents learned about Midwest Grows Green and reached out to me and was for the longest time interested in working with us. And I was actually in the meeting with Cubs Charities when they were talking about restoring this sports field. And, we kept in contact, and finally we received funding from some private foundations to do that restoration work through our technical assistance program with Midwest Grows Green. So it was a long time coming. I've been in conversation with them since 2019, so pre-COVID.
Thanks. And then we got another one from Jonathan, which says, will the lesson or activities for Escuela Verde be the same as prior lessons, or will that curriculum evolve over time?
Yeah, it will evolve. Right now, we funded for that structural focus. Ted also wants to, in the future, he wants to do something with the invasive weeds that are on their site, and either biocontrol or integrated pest management or sustainable landscaping with those weeds. And the other good advantage that we have in Milwaukee that I didn't mention, I had mentioned that we did schoolyard restorations. Our partner out there in Milwaukee is called Reflow, and they have their schoolyard redevelopment projects, and they have been working with us. So they do the redevelopment from asphalt to green spaces, and they've been working with us at Midwest Grows Green and the IPM Institute on the management of those green spaces after they've been installed. So that's how we have those connections to the Milwaukee schools. But saying that, that's why I mentioned it, because Escuela Verde is going to be one of their next schoolyard redevelopment projects.
Thank you, Carla, for your support of Kids in Action.
Yep. Thank you, Carla.
I have a question for you. Yes. What was your favorite activity from the past year that you did?
Yeah, I would have to say the Ray Elementary School. I'm so happy that we finally, as I said, we've been communicating with them since 2019. So to finally see that we have a restored schoolyard and to have the opportunity to work with their students, I think that was pretty rewarding for us on our side, and we got them involved a little bit more in IPM, I think, than what we could have done in the past.
Any other questions? All right. Well, I guess can always end a little bit early unless there's anything else you want to cover.
Not that I wanted to. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Lorelei. And yeah, so that's what I would say.
Yeah, feel free to reach out. I put my email in the chat. So thank you all for joining us today. If you enjoyed the webinar, and to see you at the next one.